I'm gonna start recording here. I'm recording on two platforms so I could share it on YouTube later and in other social media channels. But welcome, darlings. Today I woke up with this just rejuvenation, and every new moon, the moment I start paying attention to these moon cycles and I start to align my plans and my goals and my strategy in my business with alignment with the moon cycles, it's like I've aligned with the most powerful forces in the universe. So I will always be reminding to you to just experiment that. You always release on a full moon and you start on a new moon, right? So every new moon we have a chance to get clear about our true desires, about how we choose to move forward, no matter what's happening in the collective, and what is truly, truly important for us. So new moon is like a new canvas, right? And I wanted to share this live stream about the qualities of the feminine power, because the feminine is awakening in all of us, right? It's not just awakening in female bodies. Females will feel it probably the fastest because we have the magic of the moon cycle, and every month we go through this death and rebirth that is a part of being in a female body. But the feminine is awakening in all of us. Men feel it, women feel it, right? We all feel it. So I wanted to share this, how you can start harness the power of the feminine within you. And I just had a conversation with an incredible man over the weekend, and he said, Katerina, I'm having a breakthrough. I suppressed my feminine, and that's what I get to restore. So it's when a man begins to open up to the feminine within, they become more intuitive. They become more psychic in a way. They become more aware. So it's very, very powerful. And at the end of this live stream, I'm going to announce something truly special, truly remarkable. I can barely wait. So stay until the end, because I am going to announce something incredible on this new moon. So the feminine, the feminine, the feminine. I just taught a course called Goddess Awakening, and I was sharing these different spiritual traditions that honored the feminine, that praised the feminine, revered the feminine from different cultures, right? And for the last 5,000 years, we had this very out of balance ideology that we call patriarchy, right? And it's ideology that basically says that men are superior to women, and women are only good, as baby makers, as homemakers, and really nothing else. And there's, this ideology is still prevalent in our society to different degrees, right? If you go to, you know, countries like Arabic countries. I was just in Egypt last year, and I could see patriarchy straight into my face. So there's a long journey ahead of us to become aware of that virus, of that ideology, and to extract it, one by one, to extract those old paradigms and to begin to revere and value the feminine principles in our hearts and in our lives, right? Because when we look at our world right now, the reason where we see so much suffering, so much pain, so much out of balance in our humanity is because the feminine is not valued, right? So I wanted to open up this conversation. How can we begin to see the feminine qualities and revere it in our hearts, and how we can see the true power of the feminine, right? So the first quality is the feminine is dynamic. It's the power that is fluid and dynamic. And when I was teaching a course on Goddess Awakening, I was sharing this story about one of my favorite goddesses. Her name is Durga, and she comes from a Hindu tradition. And the Durga goddess really here to be a role model of a dynamic feminine power. So Durga came into the world where the world was severely out of balance. Almost reminds me to what's happening right now. And Durga was summoned to help the gods that represent the higher consciousness to win the battle against the demons. And the demons in the Hindu tradition represents the lower aspects of our consciousness, right? So the power of the myth, every tradition will use myth to communicate to a human soul. And every myth can have a meaning for us. So there is a really big legend, a big story about Durga. But one of the elements of that story that I love the most is when Durga comes into the battle, she's riding a lion. She's riding this magnificent beast right between her legs. And she moves into the battle with her dynamic power, unapologetic power, and she begins to slay the demons that represent self-doubt and fear and worry and concern and anxiety and low self-esteem and all of that. She begins to slay left and right, left and right. And then she pauses and leans back and relaxes into her seat. So in the legend, we already see the representation of the fluid and dynamic feminine power, knowing when to enter the battle, when to slay the demons of self-doubt and fear and low self-esteem, or whatever the low aspects of consciousness, negativity of lower self, and when to pause and lean back and shift into your receptivity, your yin power. This way, you will not be burned out on the path. There is really no need to be constantly in battle. You know when to pick up the sword of truth and slay those low aspects of your consciousness, and you know when to lean back and relax into what you truly love. And what Durga loved the most is wisdom, power, true power, and truth. So that's the first example of feminine power. It's not this, constant going into action, what we often see as being glorified, right? It's this learning the dynamic balance between when to act and when to lean back and sit and receive and become the receptive field. The second quality of the feminine power that I choose to align and cultivate and embody in my own life is this quality of magnetism. Quality of magnetism. You see, feminine doesn't chase anything. Feminine radiates and magnetizes everything towards her. And the one key to unlocking a true magnetism is to align yourself to the cosmic current that can only be found in nature. Sometimes I share with my clients and with my students this understanding that there are eyes in the bottom of their feet, that they have the feet chakras. And I say every time you put your bare feet into the earth and you visualize an eye opening up at the center of your foot, you begin to become a receptive energy, receptive current to literally receive the energy of Gaia through your feet to re-energize all your circuitry. So every time you create the time to be in nature and plug in consciously to the cosmic current of nature, you build up your soul magnetism. And nature teaches you the art of patience. Nature is never in a hurry. Nature takes her time. And when nature builds, she builds something that lasting, that sustains the winds of change, that sustains you know, the thunder and the lighting and the rain and the sunshine. So the soul magnetism, right, darlings? If you just joined, welcome. It's so good to see you. I am sharing the qualities of awakening the feminine power within us, independently of what gender you chose this lifetime, because the feminine is awakening in all of us. And for us to bring the universe, or to bring humanity, universe is in balance. It's the humanity that is out of balance. For us to bring the humanity out of balance is for us to begin to value feminine principles. Feminine principles in our leadership, feminine principles in our businesses, feminine principles in our relationships. And the first one I shared was dynamism, dynamic feminine power. Second, soul magnetism, that you activate every time you plug into the cosmic current, opening your feet chakras, plugging in your feet. You know, this morning I had a business call at 8:30 in the morning, and it was a powerful business call exploring a vision of this really, really brilliant female entrepreneur and the possibility of working together. And after that call, the first thing that I did, I went to the beach and I plugged in my feet, you know, plugged it into the current to re-energize my vehicle, to realign my circuitry so I could show up and continue to serve throughout the day. So I do this all the time, my loves. After every activity, I go and I find the ground. I find, you know, either the tree, or I find where I can greet the elements so I could re-energize my circuitry of my body. And you can do the same. It's available for you. Actually, I'm gonna share 4 qualities. I guess I'm gonna share 4 qualities. Okay, so feminine power is also bringing up that inner warrior within us. You know, one of my clients asked me about a month ago, Katerina, what is next? What is next? And she was referring to, okay, for the last 3 months, we've been in a lockdown. You know, we've been holding the field of calm for our communities. We've been pivoting in our businesses. We've been adapting. We've been adjusting. We've been going through surrender sandwiches. We've been drinking humility soups. Right? Let me know in the comments if you can agree. I've been doing that. Plus deep shadow work. Next live stream I will do on the deepest shadow work that I just went through last week. Very, very humbling. And my client asked me, what is next? Right? Meaning, what is we get to do next? And you know what came through for her? I said, it's time to build. It's time to build. It's time to build a new plan. It's time to build a new spider web, right? It's time to build independently of what is going on in external world. It's time to build a new sovereign life. Not when the conditions are perfect, but the more uncertain the conditions, taking that uncertainty and turning it to a fuel, to up-level your skills, to up-level your mastery, to up-level your courage. And you know the archetype that's going to support you in that is your inner warrior. Inner warrior, and also the wild woman archetype. A wild man, if you're a man watching this, right? Because the wild archetype, wild woman, I think it's a combination the way I see it. It's inner warrior and the wild woman or the wild man. It's instinctual part of us that knows how to adapt, that knows how to smell the bullshit from the 5 miles, that knows how to pivot, that knows how to continue to rise. And what supports that inner warrior is the ability to trust, everything that shows up in your life. And that's actually the 4th quality of the feminine power. Feminine power, true feminine power, is an ability to trust unconditionally. Unconditionally. You know, whenever I leaned into this ability to trust unconditionally, no matter what happens, if it's arising in my reality, it is useful for my growth. trusting my mistakes and knowing that there is no mistakes, right? Trusting my elevated emotions and trusting my turbulent emotions. Trusting the voice of my vision, trusting the voice of my heart. You know, when I went to Bali, beloveds, right before the lockdown, I was so fortunate to go to Bali to celebrate my spirit sister, Marcy Locke, 40th birthday. And she took me to this exquisite experience called ecstatic dance. And I danced like it was the last dance of my life. It was incredible, mystical prayer. That dance was my prayer. And during that dance, I had this spontaneous renewal of vows to serve the divine feminine. And I had this revelation that the great cosmic mother is my business partner, you know? And once I plugged into that covenant with the divine feminine, any fear about tomorrow, like the last bits of it, just dissolved, right? So I continue to share that message. Once you keep rooting yourself into your trust of the universe, of God, goddess, higher self, divine mother, whatever you call that energy, as long as it's relevant and alive to your heart. I'm not attached to labels. I call that energy divine great mother, because to my experience and to my heart, universe is feminine in nature. But whatever is meaningful to you, you call that. You know, the great spirit is, you know, it's irrelevant to the great spirit what we call it, as long as we cultivate a live, passionate relationship with that great intelligence that birthed your soul, that birthed my soul into existence, and that continues to guide us every step of the way. So let's review. The feminine power that is awakening in all of us is dynamic in nature. It knows how to enter the battle with the lower aspects of self. It knows how to awaken that wild archetype that can move and adapt to the ever-shifting landscape. It knows how to rise in mastery and leadership and begin to build even more sovereign life for herself or for himself. It doesn't wait to be rescued. It remembers its creative potential, and it's patient in the process. It's awakening the soul magnetism through constantly plugging into the cosmic current of support. It's unapologetic in its strength, and it's rooted in unconditional trust of the universe. So, darlings, that is what I wanted to share with you, because everything shifted for me when I began to live in service to divine feminine. I began to lead through the feminine when my inner masculine surrendered to my inner feminine. And now is the time for me to announce something really special. On this new moon, you will see me announcing on my wall and everywhere for the next, probably few weeks, is that so many people ask me to open a yearly long mentorship program, but not only for individual clients, but for the intimate group. And it's time to unveil this vision that was coming through for the last 2 or 3 years. And I just wasn't sure who it would be for. And when I came to Bali, the last piece dropped in that it gets to be for women. And you know what I received in the Bali? That there are certain codes that can only be activated by women in other women. And feminine thrives in community. I already shared this in my last webinar, Choose to Thrive. If you have seen it, I have share the parallels between what feminine requires to thrive and what masculine needs to thrive. And since I'm in the feminine body this lifetime, I chose to accept this assignment from Great Spirit. And for the last, few months since February, I have been putting everything in place to open the virtual doors for this container. It will be built on 13 months Divine Feminine Leadership and Entrepreneurship program, and it's going to be built on 4 pillars of mastery. I will put a link underneath this video so you can see, you can tune in into it and decide if it's for you, if you feel the call. And I have 5 spots available. So it's going to be a very intimate journey that is designed to help women leaders to rise in spaciousness, success, and sovereignty. So this will be for women who already have their businesses, who already have their own entrepreneurship path, and who desire to go much bigger level on a much bigger way and with more ease and with more joy, to be supported by the community of strong allies and strong peers. So thank you for being here. Thank you for receiving my share and this vision. And I will be opening enrollment for this mastermind possibly twice a year. So this is going to be the first group that will go through. I would like to keep it very small to make sure everybody has my individual attention and support. And then next year, I will open up this container again. So this is the first round. If you ever wanted to work with me as a mentor, this is a great opportunity. And I will put the link and you will see. Just tune into it, fill out application, and I would love to sit down with you and explore if this is for you. And a second offering that I have that is actually free to join if you are not a part of my Feminine Leadership Collective. It's a free group that I will be leading probably until the end of September. It has live streams, it has book of the week content, and just like a support that I provide for women in leadership. It's free to join, and it's called Feminine Leadership Collective. You can search for the group and request to join it, and I will approve you. All right, darling. So thank you so much for being here. Remember that feminine is awakening in all of us, and it's an incredible power when you allow it to flower in your heart. And it's all about opening our bodies to more pleasure, more sensuality, more joy, more trust, right? And also ability to shift into dynamic inner warrior, pick up the sword of truth, slay the inner demons of self-doubt, and move forward with your life and your sacred mission. Thank you for being here. I love you, and I will see you soon.